right, it is 6:33, and there being a quorum present, I am opening the August 12th meeting of the Rutland Earthworks Board. Even though there's nobody on, I do need to say that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast to channel 192 locally, streamed to the internet, and as you also saw, we're all on Zoom, but there's nobody else here. So the only item on the agenda is a hearing, so I will open the hearing for earth removal from a lot on Brintnal Drive to be deposited at Brintnal Estates as requested by CB Blair Development Corp. I do have, oh, that was silly. Anybody who's interested, I actually have the original application here. And, oh, that's right, Hilltop Acres, that's the name of the new one. Oh. Of the Brintnal Estates area. Sorry, the Brintnal Street lot will become Hilltop Acres. So we
lots now.
What's that?
Those are lots now, not one lot.
That's true. Well, yeah, I don't know if it's been registered, and certainly hasn't made its way into the assessor's maps. And so this is that is the initial application, and this is the map describing the removal operation, where this is the primary connection for this operation to Brintnal Drive. A bunch of earth removed from the entryway, and then a whole bunch up here on the hill. Some of it deposited here and here for detention ponds, and leveling the rest of the way, and then roughly 22,000 cubic yards to be moved up the road, however far it is, to Brintnal Estates. Tom Larson is here to talk on behalf of the applicant. So Tom, take it away.
Now, I believe you got both from DPW. You want a response from DPW. Believe you got that?
I have it, yes.
Did you also get a response from the police chief?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So they had conditions that obviously they want us to follow. The police chief basically does actually not want to limit the hours of use until school buses start.
Okay.
Once the school buses start, then he wants to work out a plan, obviously, so that we're not running the road at the same time the buses are.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted signage, said we could block the road, obviously the through traffic local still goes through. Joe, I think you had that on a little earlier, had a list of things that we have to comply
Yes,
with.
well, I'll be going over his response.
Okay. So basically, I think Neil's the only one here that didn't hear my little speech last time. There's a ridge there. So we're basically gonna strip the topsoil off, take the ridge out, put 2 inches of topsoil back, seed it, and stabilize it. And remove the 22,000 yards of fill. And we're gonna use that on Brintnal, the subdivision, to connect where the road's gonna connect. It needs some fill. That's what we're gonna get.
Right. Oh, I didn't. Let me zoom out on this map for a second. So he'll be coming out. Is it this one? I think it's this one.
Yeah.
Coming up the road. This
Yeah.
roadway is under construction right now. I would say that, or at least the lots are being cleared and all of that. Do you remember exactly where the fill's going in here? It's not important, but I just asked the question.
I believe it's in the first part.
Right around here?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's two sections. The first part has culverts in it. There's two crossings in there.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe the fill is going in the two crossings.
Tom, are they constructing both cul-de-sacs right now?
No,
No.
no. Phase one is just connecting the roads.
Okay.
Phase two is one cul-de-sac, phase three is the third. So right now, everything that you see cleared is just the roadway, the lots on the left-hand side and the right-hand side, but not going out the cul-de-sacs. So those are not clear. And they put in today, they have one section left to do where the logs are, the silt fence, hay bales behind that, everything else is in. I don't know how they did that on a day like today.
Not jurisdictional to the Earthworks Board. Now make that point clear. So once this road is built, is that when this, the temporary access road that's there now, is that when this one goes away, or will it be later?
I don't know the exact, I believe you're correct, as soon as that's done paved, then that goes away.
Okay.
I don't know the exact,
Yeah, I'm not asking day and date,
Yeah.
but just as a
It's
flow.
kind of a question, you know, to what extent does it go away?
so I believe,
Because among other things, if he's gonna do these lots up on top of the hill, and if he's gonna run water and sewer,
so
he's probably gonna wanna run it down through
Right.
that.
I believe when that is finally closed, that gets loamed and seeded.
Mhm.
I believe that's how that goes.
And the stone wall replaced,
Okay.
Right, back to its original condition is my understanding.
rock by rock.
I hope they took good photos and they labeled each rock.
So that may become the sewer and water easement?
Correct.
Okay.
I think we always knew that was going to be a utility easement, what there is now. It's just going to be back in it just wouldn't be a traveled roadway.
Is there another easement next to where?
There is another one right over here,
Oh, okay.
but I don't know
I
what,
have no idea what that is.
I don't know if that's drainage or if that's,
I believe it's drainage. I believe I saw on a plan it was drainage.
I'm just wondering if we zoom in, if it'll tell us. No, it doesn't look like it. Too bad. Oh, there we go. Drainage easement.
Good, I'm not losing my memory. At least on that.
Okay. I have another question that is not jurisdictional, and I don't want to go down a major rat hole with this, and you may not be able to answer it. Is this the same lot configuration that the planning board approved as, what special permit, was that A&Rs or was that
Estate lots. Estate lots.
estate lots? Okay.
I don't believe this is approved.
Well, the roadway
The
isn't.
roadway definitely is not.
But
I
my
think, I haven't looked at it carefully, the question is, are the lot lines exactly the same as what was approved on the estate lots? The lot lines and the acreage of each one of the lots.
I can't answer.
And I think they are. I guess I have looked closely.
I initially thought they weren't, but I've looked a little more closely now, and I'm back to I think they are, because these are where the original driveways would have been. One of the issues, one of the challenges in understanding that is that I don't have the entire property on this map.
It may be.
The thing is that they pretty much have to be,
1, 2, 3.
Right, without that,
because among other things,
Yeah, there's more plan up here.
this part and this part, that's the frontage for those estate lots. So those
I
are
think
still,
the
those are still.
plan is just
Yeah,
cut
it's
off on
cut
the
off,
drawing.
yeah. So, and again, you know, I cannot say that I went over boundary by boundary, but it looks like they are the same.
Okay.
The location, proposed location of the houses is very different.
Is that, that's the planning board, is that the criteria to have the frontage
Yeah, that's the,
Okay.
200-foot,
through the front line of
yeah.
the house? Okay.
I'm glad that you got that map, because
Mhm.
I never kept a copy and the packet's gone.
Gone. Mhm.
Okay, so I definitely don't wanna, as I said, that's not jurisdictional, and I definitely don't wanna go off
Yeah.
on anything about that, because we're here just to talk about removing dirt.
Just would be interesting to see all of these driveways. 1,300-foot driveways going up to the house.
Oh, so the center of the road is almost certainly the lot line. So that's how it can be a private road.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. Mm-hmm. All right. Questions from the board? Since I've already asked a couple.
Duration of the project?
So, I think I used last time for numbers, up on Arrowhead, they were moving roughly 100 loads in the rock truck in a day. This is a little longer haul, they're 30-yard rock trucks. So, the longevity of that, if they ran 2 trucks, say there's 5,000 yards a day. So that's shy of a week, depending on if we get into the school bus season, it's gonna go a little longer because they won't be able to work as many hours.
Do you anticipate that they're gonna actually start before school? Because, you know, they're still gonna, what, stump out,
Right. Yeah.
scrape off topsoil, stockpile it?
So it's probably gonna be close. It's
Yeah.
probably also the trees.
Mm-hmm.
So what's that entail now? 3 weeks?
Yeah. And that's cool.
And that'll probably start when, maybe tomorrow?
Monday.
Monday.
Dave is on
Okay.
vacation this week,
Yeah.
but he will be back on Monday, and I will get to him Monday morning.
Yeah.
So that
Is this
he
gonna
can-
be a special meeting or part of your normal planning board meeting?
We're gonna take a look at the calendar. I'm not even sure.
Okay.
Did Joe put down how many
It-
trees?
They listed.
Okay.
They didn't give a number, but it's, you know,
I
one
believe there's more
oak
than-
tree, one cherry tree,
Yeah,
two.
I believe there's
da- da-
more
da.
than 3.
Oh, there is definitely.
But there were 3 dead ones that Chris said
Mhm.
if they're dead, they don't count. But I
Uh-huh.
still believe there's more than 3.
Yeah. So, I could see we might have to, or might, I won't say have to, we don't have to, we might find it reasonable to hold a special meeting. So, the other side of the problem with having the joint meeting was, Joe has scheduled it for 10 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, is that a problem?
Well, actually, we probably could do it. The only one that couldn't would be Tim,
Tim, right.
but,
And even Kevin might be busy.
well, I mean, I'm just sucking down my second cup of coffee at 10 o'clock.
So Tom, what are the, do you have a plan or do you have a schedule or some of the erosion control and how that's gonna be handled? 'Cause
So
I don't believe you have to go to conservation for this.
I believe
No,
you're
he does
correct.
not.
Yeah.
So the first thing we'll do, obviously, stump it. Then they'll come up with a stump grinder. They'll grind all the stumps. We believe we're gonna have to do right at the very end of the driveway next to George Jones, we're gonna have to dig some type of a sump, line it, and rip-wrap it. Then we'll
Down
rip-wrap
here-ish. Yeah.
as the grades are going up steep right at the very beginning. That'll be rip-wrap, so that'll start right in the beginning. Then we'll use the stump grindings wherever needed. Build a rough road, we'll see how that works. They'll probably put the dozer up there, start stripping. We're gonna try and push the material so they move it the least. We have to move it, clean the material out that we wanna take, and then push 2 inches of the loam back. And as we work an area, just keep, I would say we'll start in the back, keep working our way out. So everything behind us,
So you'd be constructing a temporary site road up to the heavy cut area?
yes, yeah.
Okay. What about around the perimeter of this disturbed area? Is how you gonna control the runoff?
So what we did at Arrowhead is everywhere where the water, and we think it's gonna head by grades, head obviously to Brintnal, across, following all the way down pretty much the way the road goes, grade-wise. So there shouldn't be much going off to either side because we're gonna cut it virtually level, side to side. So there won't be much pitch, there'll be pitching down. But what we did there is we took the stump grindings and made a berm all the way around.
So you'll, perhaps rather than silt fence and hay bales, you'll have a berm of stump grindings?
Correct. That's what we used on Arrowhead, and trying to think of the review agent, he was fine with that.
So you're gonna put a crushed rock pad at the entrance to
Yes.
Brindle there?
Yep, have to do a tracking pad.
Because that's one of the things I've already noticed is when they're pulling the logs out, when the trailer trucks are down in there, even with what you've got there, they're coming out onto Brindle, and it's not a huge amount, but they're still depositing mud and stuff
Yeah.
onto Brindle. And
Yeah. So I think in Joe's letter, he talks about every day making sure the road's fine. And then at the completion, I think he has 4 inches of crushed gravel that we grade the road, spread the gravel, and
that's gonna be in our conditions on the estate lots. Just looking.
Who, in the event of, well, like we've had a lot of rain and unfavorable conditions, who's gonna monitor that? Is that gonna be Joe, DPW? I'm more concerned about, is this gonna be, negative impact on Brintnal?
so, Joe told me, and I forget which day it is, I believe it's 1 day a week, he travels every dirt road. So, obviously, he'll be keeping an eye on that, as I will. We've been using Franny Lane up at Arrowhead, and I think everybody on the town level likes their work. They seem to be very nice and neat. They seem to take care of everything that they have to. There was one spot over at Arrowhead that was in the back. The water did, with all the heavy rain we have, some of it started moving, so they went in, they put wattles in there, and that took care of that. They were gonna go in with more stump grindings, but the bank was so wet they couldn't get the machine down.
I'm just looking at Joe's stuff here.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that in a minute. I just want to get our
Oh,
questions, comments
okay.
out first.
I don't know, just,
Quinn Engineering, Carl Holker. took me over there.
Yeah. He noted that on his report. He's pretty thorough.
Yes.
Well, there's nothing there I want.
All right, so I am now going to move on to department responses. We'll start with the police chief's response. So he and Joe discussed it. Fine with the closure. I assume he means the closure of the road, and we already discussed. And they're agreed to make sure it's with advance notice, good, and be well marked. So who are you going to notice? Who gets the notice that when the road is going to be?
So he mentioned something on Facebook. Is that something that the police has a Facebook page? Does the town have a Facebook page?
I
The
think,
police
but
have-
don't know that the police have one.
Police,
I think
yeah. And
I
then-
know
Police.
the town has one.
Yeah. That would not be adequate.
What do you want to see?
Well, first of all, okay, I don't touch Facebook
Right.
at all. And I will tell you right now, lots of other people don't. You know, if you're not a social media freak, there's a good chance that you don't. Certainly, the town website would be number one.
So that would be sending a notice to the town clerk's office, and they will get that up there.
That would be number one. I don't know about notifying individual residents of Brintnal.
I'll tell you the truth, I go back and forth. I don't know which is best, but I don't know how to notify them in a way that's reasonable and timely.
What
And
do we
certain.
get when we get the abutters list?
You get the addresses where tax bills are sent.
All right, so we don't get phone numbers.
No,
No.
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 Okay.
I don't know if the reverse 911 can select out certain areas,
For that, you'd have to talk to Mike Moriarty, the director of the
dispatch.
Regional Response Center Dispatch. Yeah.
About the sign,
Hmm?
about the sign.
Well, I guess there are people other than residents of Brintnal that use it.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, for all the traffic that I see on it, I think a
Do
lot
they
of
have
people use it.
Do they have a portable sign, or did that belong to someone else? The one
That's the DPW sign, and it's only supposed to be used for certain purposes, as I recall.
I thought you were talking about the LED sign.
Well, I was talking about that one, but
Yeah.
they also had the other portable sign at one point.
I don't know. Like I say, and again, that's kind of ways things of, you know, even,
What if
What-
we made up a sign, just put it on each end of Brintnal a week before we start? So anybody driving that road would know a week in advance?
And you'd
I
have
kinda like
closure
that.
signs up the day of.
Yes.
Yeah,
I don't know, I kind of like that.
That's nice.
I mean, that's.
They're gonna be nice big signs. People can see them as they're driving past, and it'll catch their attention.
Yeah, yeah, not a, you know.
I think the only other question is, can those be attached to the trees, or do you need the landowner's permission?
I don't know, somehow
Should be able
or
to go
other, I
on.
think you must have some steel posts or,
Should be able to go on
Posted.
town property, everything.
you know.
Yeah,
I could probably work that out with Joe, whatever he's comfortable
Yeah.
with.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair. That's fair.
That shouldn't be too hard.
All right, so notice is the town website and the signs on Brintnal, at each end of Brintnal a week before
Mhm.
the removal operation begins.
That sounds reasonable to me.
Mhm. Do we want to condition that? Or do we,
Yeah,
yeah, all right, hold on, let me.
It's easier if it's all on one sheet.
well, That's what I was gonna say, but I mean, you know, if we're discussing and agreeing on something, it should be a condition.
So I'm just gonna take a fast note here and we'll wordsmith it
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
Of course, I need to put my hands in the right place.
I should know this, but I don't. There are 2 daycare facilities on Brintnal Drive. Do you know if either one of them are within that stretch between where you're taking the gravel to and where you're bringing it to? You know, I'm gonna say I don't think so, but I really don't know.
I think there may be one.
Well, there's, oh, darn it,
Does-
wrong one, let me.
One of them.
If I recall, one of them is, come here, cursor, right here. That was a recollection, so it's just outside, but literally just outside the zone.
I thought it was the other way.
There's nothing here?
There's nothing there. That's an empty
That's an
lot.
empty lot.
Let me look at it.
It's
This
further
way.
down.
See, one of them is above me. I know that one, so that's outside, but I don't know.
Oh, because that's, okay, it's over here somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's on the other side of the road, but anyway.
Oh, it's on that side?
Yeah.
Oh, that was a complete
I
misunderstanding
would
on
say
my part, okay.
probably, that could be it right there. I honestly don't know their names. No, it's further up. It'd have to be at least 301.
Well, in any event,
Mm-hmm.
if it's over here, it's before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we don't know where the other one
I
is.
thought the other one was just past the temporary road.
Over here?
That right there, I think. Not that one. I think the next one. But I may be wrong.
I can look, I don't remember seeing anything, but that doesn't mean they're not there.
Mm.
And I'm only saying that because of the
Actually,
stuff that's out in the outside. I didn't notice any sign, but it just looks like.
They did not.
Okay, so let's just continue on with this letter.
Melissa Brown, 56 Brintnal Drive, operates one of the daycares. So if you can find 56.
It's this way. See, this was 60-something right here.
66.
Brown. That's Melissa, but that's it right
That's
there.
it. So she's on this side of the current road.
It's your neighbor.
And it is, and she is right between.
Yeah. Hey lady, how'd you like to give your kid a ride on the rock truck?
It's kind of like going to an amusement
Yeah,
park.
we can dump him right off. Yeah.
Might make more money doing that than volunteering.
So it might. I want to continue on with the chief's letter before I make the statement I was about to make. Because advance notice and be well marked, yes, okay. Going to approve daily closures from 9 to 3 p.m. That it will reassess if, but it now looks like it's likely that it's gonna
It's gonna cut into the school.
it's gonna cut into the,
Yes.
yeah, that's right, there are gonna be school buses. And so that's going to cause a change, but the chief didn't give any indication of what he would find acceptable then. And so,
Verbally, he told me he would just wanted to take a look at it when we got to that point. Figure out what the schedule is on the buses. And then obviously,
it's true, I don't think we even, that the town, I could be wrong, but I don't think the town even has the school bus schedule yet. But we know that the kindergartners, there's gonna be a roughly noonish run. I don't know exactly what the time is, but you know, that's when I've seen the bus on my road. And
I'm gonna suggest that we make a condition,
that the police chief can modify.
and that the details of the road closures will be reassessed at the start of school.
Okay. And in fact, we can,
do you want more than just the chief of police to reassess it?
I don't think so. I think the chief of police is the exact single authority for this.
I think we ought to drag the bus company into it.
Is the,
So, but I am gonna throw on this version of it, 9 AM to 3 PM.
I can just imagine a school bus coming down the road and meeting head-on with one of those rock trucks. Bus driver would have a bird.
I'm sure the kids would be excited.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Oh. Is this a 5-day-a-week or a 6-day-a-week thing?
5, I would think.
Because I noticed the template that I've got is Monday through Saturday.
Was there any mention of police detail in the school? No?
No.
Or that would be up to him anyway?
So as far as, the only thing he mentioned was the time would change depending on the school bus routes when they run. But he said we'd assess it at that time. So he's probably thinking the same thing you are. Nobody knows the routes or the times
Right.
exactly now.
So,
Most of the buses are
we
well
do
before
have
9 o'clock.
we do have in our conditions a nice generic, the Earthworks Board may, after review, change the hours of operation. I don't want to change the wording, I like it, it's nice, but I will guarantee that we're going to change it. But I don't want to write down, because I don't want to write it down. What will happen is, when that happens, we will issue new orders of condition, that's all. Or new conditions, I should say. Based on police chief input, blah, I'm not even going to write that down, that's just the way it's going to happen.
So-
Yes,
Let me just clarify. The last time we said we were gonna leave it just, or you wanted to leave it just to the police.
Oh,
Now-
anybody else?
no, the police chief will be the people making the decision,
Okay.
who will guide what we put in our conditions.
Okay.
So we will, at a future meeting, we'll say, hey, police chief said blah, and we'll say, okay, we're gonna modify the conditions and vote to make it happen, and that'll be that.
So how does that work, just as far as I'm concerned? So in other words, I go to the police chief says, okay, this is what we're gonna do. You can run from this time to this time, don't run this time, run this time to this time. He emails you, is that sufficient for
Yes.
what you need?
Yes.
Okay. That works.
And we'll all be out there with our stopwatches.
And our scales to make sure they don't overload the drugs.
They're gonna be empty.
Okay, so that's the, well, one direction they will. So that was the response from the police chief. The DPW commissioner, superintendent, actually sent a letter to the planning board about this, and we're going to use portions of that letter. He didn't have anything specific to tell us. So these are actually the minutes of the meeting, and they are nearly word for word the letter. So Joe asked that limit the use of Brintnal Drive to one way. So, see, I don't think this applies to the earth removal. I think this
No,
is
this
for
more
the,
for the logging
for the-
trucks and.
right.
And I suppose, you know, you're gonna be bringing materials into Brintnal Estates as well.
Well, trucks will have to
Yeah.
definitely go in there, we know that.
So-
Yeah, but, you know,
equipment.
like, your culverts are coming in, you're gonna have
Correct.
concrete blocks and all of that kind of nice stuff.
Yeah.
What I think he's looking for is to keep the majority of that going in from Palmagussit to the site, rather than from Campbell.
So everybody that we can notify and tell them
Mhm.
to come in that way,
Yeah.
we will.
Yeah.
Some of the suppliers, I can't guarantee how they come in,
Mhm.
but we
Yeah.
can definitely, everything we're gonna need for the culverts, everything we're gonna need for the
Mhm.
block walls,
Yeah.
all the gravel, everything can come in that way.
Mhm.
That is.
I'd rather it came in from the other end. 'Cause you know,
From a very selfish, not roadworthy
Yeah,
perspective,
yeah,
yeah. Okay. Number 2, Joe asked the Brintnal Drive be closed to through traffic while hauling material from the, that is to say, during the earth removal. So this is one that I'm going to put in here. All right. And again, the 9 to 3 to be revisited. Joe asked the Clea regularly maintain the gravel road. Well, he said from Palmagussit to the site. I'm wondering if that should be extended to, because the site in this case is where the earth's coming from in this letter.
Yes, yeah.
So-
So it should be to the entrance.
I would think-
The entrance to Brintnal Estates.
Right.
Yeah.
And in fact, I would think that in our orders, we should limit this maintenance to, from this earth removal site to Brintnal Estates.
Mhm.
I don't think we should do,
Oh.
I don't think our special conditions have anything to do
No,
with the
it
rest
isn't.
of it.
No, it isn't, no. How would you plan on managing dust control?
This year. Dust control, if there is dust,
Mm.
I talked to Joe, we have a
Yep.
300-gallon tank we can put in the back of a pickup. If we run that once or twice a day, I'm sure that would keep
Hmm.
the dust down.
With just water?
Just water, yeah.
Okay. There are parts of Brintnal that are dusty now, believe it or
Really?
not, even after all the rain.
All right. Maybe I should move my cursor over to that window. Number 4, Cleve replaced 550 yards of gravel at the end of the construction to restore the 3,000 feet of roadway between Palmagussit Road and the site.
Once again, that's in our estate lot
Right, so
conditions.
Right, so, but so the point of this request was to restore Brintnal to its original condition. But this again doesn't cover anything from the site of removal to Brintnal Estates. So, no, I don't know how to. Well, if they're, but to the board, if they are fixing potholes every couple of weeks anyway, would we ask them to reconstruct the roadway after that? I mean, because this is reconstructing the roadway after construction of the
Mhm.
houses.
Yeah. Would we as an Earthworks Board want that, or,
Well, would we as a town? I'm just gonna,
yes,
okay.
that was, and,
I'll just go out on a limb. I don't think Clea has a problem with, and he's already agreed to, when we're moving the material from the two places or bringing it from one spot to the other, that we keep that maintained all the time.
mhm,
Then I believe the rest of it is, depending what happens, if we're bringing everything in, once the mixes start for the houses, all that, the framing lumber, all that, I think what Clee's agreeing to is, once that process is done, then he'll do the whole road. But if maintenance is needed, potholes, that type of thing, he'll take care of.
but the biggest thing is that 550 cubic yards of gravel is not particularly because of what they are doing. It is
Oh.
simply the road needs it.
Okay.
Okay, the town should have put that 550 cubic yards probably 5 years ago. And in the springtime, there are parts of the road that down there collapse. So, you know, and that was I'll admit, that was a little gimme from us, you know, to Clea.
Tom, one other question. Will any of this material be going anywhere else other than that?
That we know of, no. So right now, the amount of that cut is exactly what we believe we
Okay.
need there. So that's how that's set up. And the way we intend to do it, as we do that cut, we're gonna close ourselves off. So it wouldn't be like that would be left open to pull
So,
more material
are you
out.
proposing to take this to the grades for the future houses as you go, or would you be going back in?
So we believe that'll get us close to what the road
Okay,
is gonna be. So basically what that does, right now, the road would be running a ridge. So removing this material now from front yard to front yard, road in the middle, would be virtually level, left to right. It'd be going up a hill, but it would be level left to right. If that makes sense.
so would you entertain a closing date on this when the 22,000 yards is out, to close this out, or do you anticipate keeping this open if you need fill on other projects?
So-
I'm just trying to get a feel that, you know, we're talking about maintaining the road right where you're working, but if you decide you need material in another end of town on another project, you know, there may be multiple trucks running that, people thought that all the material was going to this site and not leaving another direction.
So the way we're setting that up to do all those grades, everything's gonna be in the GPS on the bulldozer as they work
Yeah.
their way down. So they figured it out for that specific amount of material. So there wouldn't be any more places that we could dig it out of
Alright.
without messing up what we just graded.
Alright.
So I think to answer your question, we are not planning to use that material elsewhere or use it as like a pit.
Okay,
So what we're planning to do is strip it, pull the material out, and I believe you have a date when you wanna see everything. Or maybe it's Joe, when he doesn't wanna see anything go down the road again, is it November?
Yeah, there's a November.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, it's the next
Yeah.
one, road.
Okay.
we
well,
use-
I'm trying to get a feel for whether this is just gonna be an earth removal permit to complete these two projects, or is it gonna be, if you're gonna request extensions in the future to operate this as an earth removal operation?
Let me phrase it this way. The way they've done the calculations.
Yep, no, I get your point, but
Yeah.
I think the
believe
question
it's only
might
the
come up
one
is-
time, a one-time, but I'll leave the opening that has not gone through the planning board.
I realize that.
So there might be changes there that might affect other things. But right now, one of the reasons we were doing it so that it would prep that site, so that
Yeah.
when we get there, it's almost ready to go. And we'd end up with the material where we need it. So we're trying to kill two birds with one stone. And obviously, it's for everybody's interest, including ours, that we get that closed off as quick as we can. And we don't have to deal with erosion control problems or concerns. We get that seeded as we work down, then going into the winter, it's stable. So right now, all we're looking to do is just do that cut, move that material over, and then be done with that for
Okay.
now. At least that's the way everything's explained to me.
Well, I'm trying to anticipate, someone comes to the board and say, is this gonna be it's gonna be a pit for 10 years removing earth, or is this just a proposed one-time operation, and then there may be operations later, but,
If the plans
Right.
change,
I
then
mean,
maybe
I don't
operations-
want, you know,
The-
are we gonna be issuing a permit that's gonna go on for 5 years and on, or is this just trying to get this done and over?
I'm hoping that this is all closed out before the November date.
I think Mr. Blair can make a whole lot more money by starting to build houses on those lots.
Yeah, no, but I mean, it could,
I understand where you're going with that. Yeah. Because I think if we did that, it would bite us because we'd take out material and then have to bring it back. to
Right.
make the original plan work. So that would make no sense.
And to say nothing of the fact that it would become a misrepresentation on the application.
correct.
If
I mean,
there's something
I'm
else.
kind of referring to I think we had an issue with the Ridge Road
Oh, yeah.
project at one time.
Yeah.
I don't want to,
There was that.
would not want to be proving something that we've had problems with in the past, trying to avoid that. Okay, that's fine.
So back to my question from this number 4, which is, oh, I see. So that number 4 as phrased, which again has to do with the original planning board meeting, hearing, not this one, puts in 550 square yards, right? Or what, cubic yards, 550 cubic yards of gravel. And I know that Clea agreed to it. My question is, do we need anything more to cover the additional distance? And the fast answer is Joe didn't ask for any more, but Joe wasn't thinking
Well,
all the way down to
yeah.
Brintnal Estates.
In talking with Joe, he was concerned with what we're doing right now, what we're going for the permit,
Mhm.
was just in between those places,
Mhm.
that getting replaced. Obviously, the rest of the road, when the rest of the construction, that'd be dealt with at that time, I believe, is how that works.
Well, just, there's a time stipulation within 2 years.
So that says the end of construction, 2 years after the end of construction? Is that how we're reading
No.
that?
Well, I think that was,
No, and we
again, this,
specifically did not want that,
right,
because that could mean, not until the last
10 years
house is
from now.
built. And that's not reasonable at all.
so what, please correct me if I'm wrong, Norm, but the planning board set a limit of 2 years from what? From the start of what?
I would say. it would be
Actually, 2 years. The
from-
2 years is for the life of the current version of the permit.
That's right.
So he has a permit,
Yeah.
so within the next 2
2
years, he needs to do that work.
Yes.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, we're starting on Arrowhead, that, say within a month, might be paved.
Mhm.
One of the stipulations for building houses there
Mhm.
is Brintnal has to be,
Mhm.
I'm assuming binder coat
Yeah.
is acceptable.
Mhm.
So, as far as the housing timeline, I believe the housings would be done up on Arrowhead. Not that there's a lot of them. I think there's what, 11, 12 maybe?
Yeah, something like
Somewhere
that.
around there.
Mhm.
Then they come down, do phase one. Complete the build out on phase one. Then go in, do one subdivision, which is phase two.
Mhm.
The other subdivision is phase three.
Mhm.
So, in my mind, I'm kind of thinking, as time goes by, we have to work with Joe on what Joe feels is our maintenance of that road. And then once it's completed, but I don't know how that falls in on that timeline.
I'm not sure that end of construction is what Joe really intend. I can't
No.
speak for Joe, and he's not
Yeah.
here to answer this magic question.
Yeah.
I'm not sure end of construction is what Joe really meant when he wrote it.
So we can ask Joe, I think that would be separate of what we're doing here tonight anyway. That would be more along the line of the construction of the houses.
Mhm.
So
Uh,
if we haul out material and satisfy Joe on that, the distance that we're gonna be hauling the material, put in the new gravel, compact it, Joe's satisfied with that. The rest of the road, they can hammer out at what time, or Joe can tell us,
No, because that's gonna be a condition in the special permits that the planning board issues.
okay, for,
And our entire intent was that 550 cubic yards be done at the time that would be the normal expiration of the special permit, which would be 2 years.
okay, all right. So no matter what happens, 2 years, that 550 yards goes in,
Mhm.
then you're satisfied, the
Yep.
town's satisfied.
Yeah.
After that,
And
Joe takes over.
any further construction that causes problems, that's the town.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
Mhm.
fair enough.
Okay.
Don't mind me,
Yeah,
some
no,
of this is
that-
new
no,
to
it's
me,
okay.
just so
And
I
it-
know
and
what the
it's, you know,
timeline is.
The thing is, to be perfectly honest with you, I don't really think all of this movement is going to cause that much wear and tear on the road. It's just, it's age.
Yeah.
And lack of long-term maintenance on the road. That just, hasn't been done. And Joe doesn't have the money to do it. And isn't likely to have the money to do it.
Right.
So, you gotta figure out how you can put it in for COVID. So Hubbardston got $1.2 million to use any way they want that they feel it's related to COVID.
How our roads
So how did your
related to
roads
COVID.
get bad because of COVID?
COVID. Well, let me see now.
Think about that one. So
There were a
if
lot more
Hubbardston
trips to
got
the hospital.
1.2,
There is
Rutland's
quite a
got
bit
a
of
lot more
money
than that.
for the
Oh, there is. I know that there's tons of money out there left over from COVID.
water lines, I believe. Water and sewer can be
Water and
replaced.
sewer infrastructure to a degree can be, but what the town's gonna use that for? This town's gonna use it for some amount of water infrastructure. I don't know if it made it to sewer. Because it's not for replacement of what's already there, it's gotta be expansion, I think. I think, but, I'm not an expert on it. All right, so,
Hey, if he wants to run that sewer up to that parcel, maybe he can get some of it.
there you go. Number 5, Joe asked that the road not be used for construction between months of November through May, specifically blah, blah, blah. And large movement of earth. So,
I'll get from Joe, do you think he needs November 1st?
I think he does, and what it really is that it's not that you are forbidden, it's that you're only allowed to go with approval of the DPW director.
Gotcha. Okay,
Because he's gonna make a judgment based on
right,
whether at the time.
yep, got it.
So that's something I think we want to,
So if it's nice weather, we can probably go a little more, if it
Yeah.
looks like
exactly.
Yeah.
snow's
And
coming.
particularly, you know, through the winter, November, December is probably gonna be fine.
Yeah.
It's the March, April, May, that's,
Like I say, I'm hoping October to be done,
mhm.
Right.
but it's all, you know, it's contingent on, now that's gonna be another 3 weeks out for those trees.
Mhm. Can you start moving any dirt without those trees down?
I know they went in there, we might be able to, I know they went in there with, that's how they moved the logs
I was
over.
gonna say, yeah, all the big equipment they moved up there.
So there might be a possibility of doing
Mhm.
that. George Jones said we can do whatever we want on his driveway, he said it's already a mess.
Yeah, it is. Well,
Sooner we get done, sooner we can cover it and get something growing.
well, yeah, and, well, you know, there's time, but, you know, once you hit the middle of October, getting grass to grow starts
It's gonna be tough.
Gets a little challenging.
So those are the 5 points that Joe did. I took several of these down for special conditions.
Mhm.
I've ignored number 4.
Yeah.
So, we've heard from the board, we've heard from the other department heads. Let's open this to the public. Mr. Viner, questions or comments?
Mr. Coppola.
Where did Neil Viner, how did that enter my brain?
Mm.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
Mr. Coppola!
I think
Boy, do I apologize.
First question was, it appears that once the stumps are removed, they're gonna strip the topsoil, remove 22,000 yards, put 2 inches of topsoil back and seed it, all before the fall. Okay, that's fine. Brintnal Drive, that's a public way, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes, it is.
Are these trucks registered, insured?
So that's why I went through the police chief. And he was okay with that. He knew what we were doing.
Is there a liability being on the public way?
I don't know how that works, and I don't know if it changes because he's allowing us to close the road.
If the road's closed, it might be,
Well, like pass it on risk type of thing, we used to see those signs, or under construction, pass it on risk. I'm just saying it's, God forbid, you don't want something
Right.
with
Yep.
one of those.
Let's face it, one of those rock trucks runs into one of the houses along Brintnal, there's gonna be hell to pay.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
no doubt about that. But,
Well,
Okay.
but
Well, I'm just-
even fundamentally, I think it's not use it on risk. I think the road is going to be closed between,
mhm.
you know, from one site to the other, plus or minus a few feet.
Right
So,
now, is there any type
Well-
of, this Earthworks Board require performance bonds or anything?
we have the ability to,
Not in this case, maybe?
we haven't discussed it, quite honestly.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. And, no, I'm here primarily, my brother and I are the butters to the north.
Mhm.
We have a considerable amount of property undeveloped.
Mhm.
I'd like to see what's encroaching on it, and our property carries business zoning. So at some point, if it be us or new owners, there'll be some development close to these houses. I don't see any potential problem. I mean, neighbors are neighbors, but it's been pretty remote for many, many years. So,
Right, because you on this.
a lot of times with Mr. Blair, we would negotiate access, leave an access way if we needed utilities,
Right.
just proper development.
Yeah.
and not get closed out, that's all. This is the first I've actually heard of this project going underway, so that's about it.
So I don't believe we're gonna start on this right away, but I think it was a way to generate material, prep that site, and we got the material for Brintnal, all in close proximity.
Mhm.
So that would have to be Seward and
Correct.
Wells?
Yes.
No, sewer and water,
Sewer and
town,
water.
town
Oh,
water
because of
too.
the lot size, is that it? Or,
No,
I
it's
think-
not lot size requirement, it's just the plan, as I understand
Oh,
it right now.
Well,
I think
yeah,
it's
you know, we
close.
haven't seen.
So that access road,
That isn't a
as they
requirement that
mentioned,
he
I
go on
believe that's
sewer.
where.
No,
the-
no.
Oh, no, I think so.
It's not
No,
a
I'm just
requirement,
concerned
and I
that,
don't think
you know,
Joe.
But-
they
has
need
said
an
anything
easement.
Yeah,
about
talk
that.
with Clea
Yeah.
about, you know, if you're thinking you have something you might in the future want in that area.
But you haven't got approval for the,
No.
yes, okay.
No.
So that will come in the future.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I assume there'll be water permits and sewer permits eventually.
Yeah, I don't, and I think Norm can talk to that, I don't think that's a done deal, that configuration of the houses.
No,
Not at this point. I
which,
understand.
well,
All right, that's
as
fine.
far as,
No more
I
questions.
think
as far as
that's,
where the houses go on the lot, we have no jurisdiction on
yeah,
it.
yeah, I think that's the configuration Clea
On the estate lot, you do.
thought.
No.
of
The
the
requirement.
Just that,
Without
that
putting
one line.
One of them was
Right.
Beyond
22
that, no.
houses
No,
or something.
right.
Yeah, but he said that the infrastructure cost, you wouldn't get your money back. So this way, he thought it was more favorable.
May I digress a bit?
Feel free.
Totally out of the hearing,
Okay.
okay? I've noticed up on your property of Palmagussit, on the further part from Brintnal, you have a pile of ground asphalt. Isn't that your property?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Any chance I could get like 3 or 4 5-gallon buckets of it?
If you can dig into the petrified pile, you're sure. It's solidified.
Is it really?
Well, I think you could get 3 to 5 pails there, but it's,
Okay, I've got a couple of potholes in my driveway.
yeah, you can attempt to do that.
No problem?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, those,
I just see that every time I go by and every time I drive in my driveway and hit my little potholes. I just, I don't want to get a truckload of this stuff. I don't need it. But, yeah.
no, it's pretty
Okay.
tight, but yeah, see what you can do.
Okay. I've also got a pick.
Alrighty. Anything else? I'm gonna go back to the board. Any questions or comments from the board?
Oh, road closures.
Yes.
That's not going to be by a barrier, is it?
I believe it'll be by signs that you could drive around.
Yeah.
But again, I'll check with the chief before we,
Yeah,
But
you know,
those
you might just want to because yeah, I don't know. And I don't know. I don't think you really can do that.
No, I don't think you can.
But
It's been maintained for fire.
yeah.
but
I was just
Fire
gonna
and
mention-
well,
public
they
safety.
could be movable barriers. But I guess I'm thinking of every single container. Just thinking of somehow or other some little kids decide to walk down the road.
Well,
I
they
mean,
usually close
you know,
through traffic, local,
yeah. But,
have to get
yeah.
to their homes.
But kids
It's
walking down the
closed.
road. Come on,
Yeah.
they don't think.
I didn't know they walked.
Kids, do they walk anymore?
They
That's a
do.
fair
They
question,
do.
isn't
They
it?
do walk,
I,
and we
Good.
require sidewalks in our subdivisions, and they walk in the middle of the road.
They do. So Bryce one, perfect example.
Yes,
We were down there the other day, everyone's walking on the road, no one's on the sidewalk.
sidewalk. Yeah. Mhm.
that's like the joggers on Main Street.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. There are. I wasn't thinking about how many houses there are between, in this region. There are more than I gave. It's not 100 houses. But there are a few, and that's going to make a fascinating traffic issue at some points.
That's one of my concerns is that, with the size and the number of trips going through there, I mean, you're gonna get traffic that's gonna try to get through. And, you know, God forbid there's an accident between a car and a rock truck.
Could you have a flag man?
Well,
Like
that's,
they did
that's
in
why,
Rutland,
that's why I
they
asked about the
flag man.
police detail.
I think
Um,
it's the best.
not that
Safety.
I wanna
That's all.
see the police department have to go in there, but,
Flag
um,
man, enjoy.
you know, I can just see, you know, a school bus or someone late for school, I gotta go through and, you know, there's a bottleneck and somebody doesn't wanna back up and, you know, what do,
Yeah. Does Massachusetts allow non-police flagmen? I don't think they do.
maybe, if
I
maybe if the
don't-
road's
in the
closed.
use-
I don't believe so. I believe they have to be
Yeah.
police
Uniformed
officers.
right,
Yeah.
but any other places.
Unless the road is closed, maybe,
Yeah.
cause then it would just be.
Well, that's true, you
flag-
don't need flagmen if it's closed, you're right, because you're not signaling to go through.
It's just
You would only need
signaling,
signaling.
between the construction equipment, there's a vehicle coming, can't go through until it passes, so either way.
I'll go through it one more time with the police chief
I just-
on the signs,
Yeah.
exactly what he
Yeah.
wants to see and doesn't want to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, because I mean,
And it's, you know,
like I mentioned before, I mean, there is some exposure running an
Yeah.
unregistered or an off-road vehicle, whether it's a public road, closed, private, or whatever. I'm sure there's insurance, but could backfire on, because we're kind of issuing a permit to move from this location to this location with heavy trucks.
Yeah. So, lucky for you, you're only about the removal. So you're more, correct me if I'm wrong, you're more on the site where it's coming from.
We are only on the site it's coming from.
So the police chief and the DPW director are responsible for as we go down the road.
Yes.
Yes.
And then where
But
we
you're
go-
telling us how you're gonna move it, so we're agreeing that you have to do something on the other end. I guess we don't wanna
are-
restrict it to only dump trucks, highway registered vehicles, because you wanna do something different, but,
I mean, basically, the special condition I have so far is Brintnal Road to be closed through traffic while operation is progress, signage and signaling to be approved by the chief of police.
okay.
As long as they're involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, wordsmith later, but that's the core of it. It's,
Okay.
I agree that the chief of police is the proper authority for determining what's correct here.
yeah.
All right, I have no more questions. Good night.
Have a nice night.
Having nothing else, is there a good reason to not close the hearing?
Are there any other comments from any public or anything?
I have received nothing, and no one else is in, this is it, this is the meeting,
Yeah.
which surprises the heck out of me.
I'm kind of surprised that a couple of my neighbors
Yeah.
weren't here, but that's, among other things, I'm pretty sure they resigned, hey, this is gonna happen, no matter what. So, which is what I told a couple of them, is gonna happen.
Well, maybe they also thought that the planning board conditions were sufficient. I would be hard pressed to believe that honestly, but maybe.
Well, no, some of them are not gonna be happy, but then you gotta make everybody happy, no matter what.
Right.
Don't make you happy all the time, even.
I could be sitting at home having a beer now.
Well, yes.
So at this point, when do you think you're gonna actually begin? I know we sort of talked about it, but if you're gonna try and start before school starts, that's this month.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
So I think the first thing, which you already touched on, can we do anything before the trees come down? Now, we know they ran the log truck through there,
Mhm.
so I'll talk with them, have them look at it, and they can tell me, yes, we can come through George's driveway, that won't be a problem. We can do that until those trees come down, and then we start that cut coming up. It'll depend what they tell me, and then I'll have to go, obviously, I got at least a week, I have to notify everybody. I'll have to get with the police chief. We'll have to put it, the signs, the website, everybody get notified. So the soonest it could start, and I don't think it'll start in a week.
No.
So I do think we're gonna run into school bus season, because when does the
Oh,
school
good.
start?
Yeah.
That's before September, right?
Yes, it is, and that was rather my point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because the other question is, I mean, we need to formalize our conditions and issue the permit, and we can do that on our next meeting, which is scheduled for next week.
Mhm.
That would work out great, for us. That would give me a week to go through everything with the police chief. As soon as you give the okay, then I could get it advertised as far as, the website,
Mm-hmm.
put the signs up, and then maybe the week after that. So that's 3 weeks out. That might be close to when the trees can come down.
Yeah.
You could remove stumps and stockpile earlier than that, correct? Because you don't have to use the entrance other than just to bring equipment in, correct?
Correct. Yep. Yep. So the entrance.
So
is-
that could move the actual removal time up.
Is the stump grinder bigger than the chipper that we've got up there?
No, it's louder.
So those.
I was gonna say, they got the chipper
just-
up there, and that's a big machine,
So
you know?
depending on which chipper, I can't tell you exactly which chipper he's using, but I do know there's another guy in Hubbardston that has a chipper that will do both. He chooses only to do wood because he knows what the stones and what the stumps will do, but it's capable of, so I would assume that grinder is roughly the same.
Loud.
Same size.
Yep.
And if they got that one up there, they should be able to get the other one up there.
But the timeline on,
You know, that's none of my business.
yeah, they're usually only, I'd be surprised if they're there more than 3 days. And those walk to the piles. So they'll start wherever the piles of stumps are, they usually try to put them in a windrow. And then it's remote control. So it just follows the excavator and they just keep loading the windrow. And it leaves the windrow coming out to that. So it's not all in one spot all the time.
Yeah.
But they're, in comparison, relatively quick.
I would think the only thing that we would be concerned about is if, in the event that the trees hold you up and you can go between the trees, is that, the placement of this, some kind of a stone entrance or something.
Yeah.
If you can't put it by the street or it becomes a problem tracking mud, do a temporary one further back
Yeah.
until you get the approval.
Mhm.
Just to kind of follow the guidelines of what we're looking for.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I honestly think it's probably gonna be too steep to go in where the log trucks are going out, because they're going, well, downloaded trucks would be doing the same. I'm assuming dirt's heavier than wood, but might not be that much.
I don't know the position of
Yeah,
the trees, so I don't know how much room there is between them.
There's not an awful lot.
yeah.
Well, it depends on,
There might be 12 feet.
depends on George Jones's side there, what he would,
Right. I
Wow.
would think it would be easier for us to come down George Jones' driveway than try to. But that's not to say we couldn't start shaping everything behind those trees.
Correct.
We're gonna.
That's
know-
what I
Yeah,
mean, yes.
yeah,
I mean,
Mhm.
it won't, you can still work the project to some extent
yeah.
without,
Yep, we can definitely go in there and start shearing, because right now, we started shearing on Brintnal. We'll get that all done. They'll probably go in and start pulling stumps next week over there. Getting ready to do the road work. If we don't have we are shearing as we pull the next week, they're probably gonna pass us, so they'll probably start pulling stumps, and then we'll shear them when they're up.
Shearing, what's,
So, before you can run them through a stump grinder, they have to be smaller in size.
oh, really?
So you can't have the roots sticking way out. So you shear them up for a couple reasons. One, it goes through the grinder easier
Mhm.
as smaller pieces. If you do bigger pieces, it'll take them, but sometimes they bind up. Then you gotta back them out, knock them off,
Hmm.
go through again.
How do you
And
how do you shear them?
So it's on an excavator, and it's basically like a big scissor. One side, well, one
Okay.
side's flat and the other side's
Hmm.
sharp,
Yeah,
and you just squeeze.
interesting. I haven't seen that happen. Different process. I would assume that would tend to also loosen any rocks that are stuck, or
Yes,
at least some of them, yeah.
Alrighty. I will take a motion.
Motion to close the hearing.
I'll second.
I'm gonna be a pain, still do a roll call. Anderson,
Aye.
Coppola,
Aye.
Crane, aye. Hearing's closed, thank you very much. I just wanna briefly go over the conditions I have written down.
Mhm.
Again, we'll do real work on them next time.
Okay.
Oh, come on. Actually, let me pull this way over here. And actually, I think I need to put that one back. Because this is one we removed for Dave's, because all he was doing was
Mhm.
So how do you do it on the board? As far as I know, like I mentioned, I'm on conservation for Hubbardston. We would close the hearing, vote on what we're gonna do, then come up with the order of conditions. Is it
no, we
different?
do it as, we will determine the conditions,
Okay,
and then we will vote to approve the permit with those conditions.
okay,
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
okay. So next meeting, if you agree with the conditions that you write up,
Mhm. Yeah,
that'll get voted on, and then after that, I could get a copy of.
yeah. Because this is just kind of a draft of the conditions.
Exactly.
Okay.
Uh, So site-specific all on-site activity from 9 to 3, and we may, after review, change the hours of operation. Not required to post a bond, unless the board thinks otherwise this time.
I can't see why.
Yeah, okay. To show appropriate controls for dust shall be used while the earth removal operation is in progress. Again, these are all just sort of quick drafts. Brintnal Drive to be closed to the traffic. I actually already read this signage, and signaling to be approved by Chief of Police. Applicant shall maintain Brintnal Drive between the removal site and Brintnal Estates by filling in potholes and applying dust control every 2 to 3 weeks as needed, or as needed. That's pretty much a direct quote from what's in the planning board conditions.
Yeah. And maybe I'm just getting way, way too picky here. Potholes are usually, at least in my mind, potholes are generally caused when a car, truck, whatever, is running over a place where there's been some standing water.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it hits the standing water, so some of the gravel splashes out. More standing water, a few more passes, more splashes out. What I'm thinking of is the possibility that some of this heavy equipment, these rock trucks, may actually scuff up the gravel into what at least I wouldn't call a pothole, but just I don't know, an irregularity in the road surface.
Mm-hmm.
A little mound, a ridge, or who knows what. If you think I'm being too picky, you could say so, but
Well, we could easily change the phrase filling in potholes. In fact, we can even
Any
strip some of these words out.
Any disturbances to the surface or something like that.
I would say maintain an adequate travel surface or something like that. I mean,
Yeah,
I think it might make your job easier if you do the same with what you did for the police, do the same for DPW. That we satisfy DPW on the dust control or the grading of the road.
and again, the reason I'm saying that is that right up at the site, I don't know if it was their logging truck that they brought up there or one of the other pieces of equipment. It did put a gouge across Brintnal Drive. Not deep, it's
Yeah.
not that bad, but
I wanna say I thought they had rubber tires and some of them had chains that went
Mhm.
between the tires.
yeah, there's something, there's some kind of
So
combination.
Usually
like that.
anything with metal like that could
Yeah,
leave
could do it.
marks.
So, and it's, it's technically not a pothole, but it's still a
Yeah,
disturbance.
you're right, so,
Yep.
so we don't need to be specific, applicant,
Mhm.
applicant, not application. Applicant shall maintain the Brintnall Drive travel surface to the satisfaction of the DPW director.
Yeah,
that's good.
yeah.
Can we go back to the
Yep.
all on-site activity? You don't want your excavation and grading operations limited to 9 to 3, just the
Correct,
removal?
just the use of the road.
Okay, because this is all related to this
Mhm.
permit, so.
Yeah,
But this permit is only for earth removal.
Well,
Alright, so,
yeah, but the earth removal operation entails stripping, loading, and everything else, so I think that needs to be specific to the
mhm.
off-road trucks, travel, whatever, and I think the on-site activities, you're never gonna get this job done 9 to 3
right,
by November.
right.
I mean, I still think we maybe should, if you wanna put some hours of operation on the, operation of the earth removal permit, I mean, yeah, I think, you know,
Well, does it-
six AM to 5 PM or something like that is reasonable for
So
on-site activities.
Yeah, obviously, the state and the town, or the town does by, if they don't have their own, it reverts back to the state's time of when you can work,
Mhm.
which I think is 6 to, might be a little later than that, might be 7, something like that.
6 to 7 PM. It's,
That's the state,
Right.
so the
but I'm
town
just saying
has-
is this might be that you
Yeah.
can only be there from 9 to 3.
I would say if you limit that to the road use from 9 to 3,
Yeah,
and then it just goes back to the default of what time you can work on any site.
right. I mean, I don't think we need to put any hours on that, but I
Okay.
think we just need to make sure that that's,
Well, okay, but, so what, 6 to 7?
no, we don't really, we
Don't
don't
need
have
to
to
put a
put that in.
time on
I was more
Okay.
concerned that by saying 9 to 3, it was all operations.
Yeah.
Mhm.
In that time, that 9 to 3 is dictated by the police chief, so when it comes to the school bus, it'll change
Mhm.
Right.
as per
Yeah,
the police chief.
Okay.
yeah, I think that works like that.
Do you want to put Earthworks Board and police may change the hours of operation?
The police-
Or will we do it through?
The police, yeah, we will get information from the police chief and we will
Okay.
update our orders, our condition, I keep
Okay.
calling them orders because of Concom.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
will update our conditions
Based upon,
based on input from the police chief.
I think that makes it easier than DPW has their part, police have their part, and you have your part.
Yeah,
Right.
sure between now and next week, you'll think of a couple more tweaks.
Might be.
Well,
We want to include on that last one, signage, signaling, and notification.
Sure. How do I misspell signaling? Or do you just not like the word?
you get 2 L's.
Yeah, there's only one L. How about that? Leave me alone. Signage, signaling, and notification to be approved by the chief of police. And I'll do a little wordsmithing before the next meeting just to
Yeah.
get full sentences in there. Applicant shall maintain the Brintnal Dr travel service. I believe we covered that one already.
Yeah.
No, I should take away the extra dot that I don't know how I got in there. So this is just notice of road closure. Again, I have to wordsmith the heck out of that, but that's the lot. There's that one. From November 1 through April 30, movement operations may only take place based on weather. Okay, I'd have to rewrite it, but based on weather conditions, the conditions Brintnal Drive with the approval of the DPW director. I don't even need to say that, in fact, maybe we just take out based on. May only take place with the approval of the DPW director.
Yeah, because it's not even necessarily weather conditions, it's more road conditions.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, let's start by just removing the first one. There. Fewer words is better. There we go. And that's the last one.
Mhm.
Anything else we should think about that we'll discuss again next meeting? All right.
We're not voting on it tonight.
We are not voting on it tonight. We'll
All right.
think about it between now and then, because we might also think over the next week of more things to put in here. I don't know what they'd be.
Yeah.
Or maybe take out.
Well, you never can
It
think.
could
There really
It
isn't much
could
in there.
happen.
I think the hardest part of this whole thing is just the coordinating the traffic.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't, other than that,
Okay. Is there any other business for the board tonight?
Can you email us that list
Yes.
so that we can think about it a little bit?
Yep, I'll send it out to everybody.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Good. Roll call. I'll Go in a different order. Coppola.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Crane, aye. We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Thank you for coming in.